Good morning and welcome to UCA's online public lecture. My name is Shaukat Ali Khan and I'm the Chief Information Officer here at the University of Central Asia. We have an amazing topic today, e-commerce trends and opportunities. Our today's speaker is Murad Wadhwania, who is an international expert in the field of e-commerce with an amazing track record. Murad has over 20 years of experience within customer operations and e-commerce space. Murad previously worked at Expedia as a senior director, building online products for sales and support. He has led multi-billion dollar businesses at Amazon and was involved in business building Amazon Fresh, which is online grocery delivery service. Currently, Murad works at LinkedIn as a director, whose team drives product quality for all of LinkedIn. Throughout his career, Murad has been focused on identifying customer needs and building products and services to delight them. He has also been an active volunteer with AKDN and has served in a variety of economic and education institutions. Please welcome Murad Wadhwania.
Thank you so much, Shaukat. Good morning, good afternoon, evening. I'm delighted to be talking to you today. This is a topic which is very near and dear to my heart. And when Shaukat approached me to talk about this topic, I said I'm more than happy to share some of my thoughts, my perspectives with the UCA group as well as the larger audience. So really delighted with this opportunity to be talking to you today. What I will cover today are three aspects of e-commerce. So give me a minute, I'll share my presentation. Shaukat, are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, we can see that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is, you are able to see the full slide, not in presentation mode, right?
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to talk to you about three things related to e-commerce trends and opportunities. Number one, talk about the scale and growth of e-commerce. Just to paint a larger picture, what is the landscape looking like in e-commerce world, and why we should all be thinking and benefiting out of it. And I think this provides a lot of opportunity for us. So that's first part of my conversation. Second piece of my presentation will be around success stories. Share with you a few examples of how people are leveraging e-commerce, more so about common people rather than big companies. And third, I'll talk about how you can start selling online and what are some of the best practices. If you want to get started, how do you get started? And if you are already on e-commerce, how you can grow and what are some of the best practices to take your business even further on e-commerce. So those are three aspects that I'm going to cover with you today. Let us start with what is e-commerce. E-commerce is pretty simple. It's buying and selling of goods and services using internet. So when internet became prevalent about 25 years back, with internet came the opportunity to transact online, buy goods and services online. And that includes obviously transfer of money, transfer of data, and making some of these purchases of goods and services. So that in aggregate is e-commerce. It's pretty simple. I'm sure many of you may have already used e-commerce in one way or another, be it on your local sites, ordering food or ordering goods or personal items, home items, or even services. These days, a lot of services are being sold online in terms of coaching, counseling, many of those services. In fact, COVID opens a lot of opportunity, which we will talk about in terms of how e-commerce have been actually a savior for us during this COVID, and what has happened because of COVID to e-commerce. Why we should be thinking about e-commerce. I'll share with you some of these key statistics. This year, this year meaning in 2020, end of 2020, global e-commerce reached around $4 trillion. $4 trillion. To put things in perspective, global retail sales is around $24 trillion. So this is about 16-17% of global sales, and it's growing rapidly, growing very rapidly. As of 2020, there were at least 2 billion digital buyers around the world who have shopped online in last year. E-commerce is growing very rapidly. I'll share some of the US numbers, but I'll try to broaden beyond US as well. Within US, e-commerce is growing at 15% steadily. Last year was an exception because of COVID, which we'll talk about. In terms of American, almost 70% of Americans are shopping online. And there is a prediction or projection from NASDAQ that by 2040, 95% of commerce will be online. Now, this is a very striking number. When you look at, it's only 4 trillion. Well, 4 trillion is not a small number, but in terms of global sales, when you are at 16-17%, but the growth is 15%. So we shouldn't be surprised that our kids, for sure, or even we in next decade or so, will be primarily transacting online. And that's something to reckon with. Either we let that trend happen, or to me, I think this opens up a lot of opportunities for us to leverage this trend to our benefit, which we will talk about today. I want to quickly show you what pandemic COVID did to e-commerce last year in 2020. You can see this chart. There's a blue line and there is an orange line. Blue line is total retail sales in US, and orange is e-commerce. Retail sales, as you can see over the last 10 years, grows at a low single-digit percentage, usually around 3 or 4% year over year. But e-commerce has been steadily growing, as I said, around 15%. Last year was an exception. E-commerce grew at 44%. And you see the uptake on the blue line, and that uptake in the blue line is primarily driven by e-commerce growth, right? So major disruption, I would say, for the e-commerce, and there are a lot of prediction to say that trend will continue. Once people experience the comfort, the convenience of e-commerce, people get used to it. It's very hard once people start buying and transacting to go back to the old ways of doing things. Next, I'll quickly show you the global numbers for 2020, which is again, as you can see around the world, there has been high double-digit growth to e-commerce last year. In your own neighborhood in Eastern Europe, as you can see, e-commerce had one of the highest growth. Eastern Europe is 21.5%. Asia Pacific continues to grow. In fact, Asia Pacific, China is the biggest market for e-commerce. And Asia Pacific itself eclipses everyone else globally in terms of its share of e-commerce. So a lot of growth, a lot of opportunities. Doesn't matter where you are, which part of the world this provides. Let's talk about who is shopping online. This is an important piece to understand what trend is happening. So millennials are making almost 60% of their purchase online. So while you see the global share of e-commerce is around 16-17%, as I said, but if you look at the millennials per se, almost 60+%, 2/3 of millennials are e-commerce shoppers primarily. In fact, on Amazon, millennials are the biggest users of Amazon. Think of Generation Z, which is born between 97 and 2012, right? Those teenagers and post-teenagers, young college graduates, they tend to be 2 times more likely to only shop on e-commerce or brand websites. Now, this is a very important trend, because if you project this trend in the future, this is the population who will primarily dominate 10, 20 years from now, right? And this population of millennials and Gen Z, who are primary users of e-commerce, they are going to shift this trend big time. And that's why there's a projection that 95% of commerce will be online by 2040. In US, 9 out of 10 consumers check prices online. This is very interesting, right? Even if they are not buying online, people are going online to check prices, because e-commerce gives you an opportunity. It gives you a lot of transparency on prices. So even when people are in store, they go online to check prices. And 63%, again, almost 2/3 of the shoppers begin their research online. So beyond just transacting, there's a lot of value of e-commerce in terms of understanding the product, comparing prices, comparing competition. These are some of the added benefits of e-commerce that consumers are already seeing and using it. And as mobile penetration continues to grow, especially in emerging markets, where a lot of countries are leapfrogging from old technology because of the easy availability of internet, including where University of Central Asia operates. In those countries, as we know, mobile penetration is very high, and consumers tend to shop a lot more on mobile. So these are some of the very secular trends, I would say, which is changing the landscape, why e-commerce is growing so much, and it will continue to grow and disrupt the global sales in next decade or two. Next, I will talk about what is selling online. So there was time when primarily books or hard goods were selling online. And you can still see in that pie chart on the left-hand side, computers and electronics are one of the biggest slice of the pie selling online, followed by clothing. Clothing is a trend we have seen in last decade, picking up quite a bit. Fashion and clothing, people used to traditionally think that consumers have to go in the store to try out clothing, but increasingly, this is one of the fastest growing businesses: apparels, clothing, accessories. Car parts is another one which has grown quite a bit. Books and media continues to be a share, but once upon a time, books and media, if you ask me 20 years back, more than half of this was books and media. And because of the growth of other products, books and media is much smaller now. Even big, heavy and bulky goods like furniture is selling online, which is very hard to ship. It's not easy to ship furnitures, to deliver furniture, but increasingly consumers are buying because of comparison shopping, because of all the rich details which are available about the products online. And then you can see a lot of other items, including food and beverage. Now, this chart is a couple years old. So food and beverage has grown quite a bit, especially during COVID, which I'll talk more about. Consumables like medical products, personal accessories, food, share of e-commerce has grown quite rapidly. And on the right-hand side in this slide, you see what men versus women are buying online. As you can see, travel purchases is one of the large share that men do online, followed by household goods, and women purchase food and groceries and clothing online, and followed by books, magazine, and learning as well, right? A lot of learning is going online as well. E-learning is happening, which though in terms of spend, it's smaller, but the consumption is very, very high of e-learning as well. How is COVID impacting? We spoke about the overall growth chart. I have some more numbers to share. This is the data back from March and April last year in 2020. And you can see the growth rate on the left-hand side, you see the bar chart. The medical equipments, medicine, followed by baby products, cleaning products, food and beverages, saw over 100% growth, over 100% growth just in 2-3 weeks of March, which is phenomenal. On the right-hand side, you see two lines again, a purple line and blue line. Purple line is in-store purchases. So at least wherever the COVID started, there was a lot of rush to get in the store and buy. And we all saw a lot of panic buying. In fact, online was double of that, right? Online, as you can see, the growth was even higher at 91% during third week of March. So that's a big picture in terms of the scale and growth of e-commerce. My key point is this is a secular shift that is happening, right? The next generation, the millennials and Gen Z, are already using e-commerce increasingly. There's a lot of value people are seeing in terms of convenience, in terms of transparency, in terms of better prices, better experience. And a lot of those trends are continue to grow, and consumers are going to expect more and more. And therefore, we see tremendous growth of e-commerce in years to come. I'll move on to the second part, talking to you briefly about some of the success stories. And I tried to pick, these are the success stories from some real people, mainly people you would generally not think of using e-commerce. And I thought, let me talk to you. We all know the stories of Amazon and eBay, and a lot of large companies going online. We know a lot of those stories, but I thought it would be worth sharing some of the common people story with you. So my first case study, and all these are real case studies, I won't name names for the privacy purpose, but this is a very recent case story last year. There was a watch importer based out of Texas, USA, who was supplying watches in the store. And the person had a store itself and used to import these watches from China and supply these watches. And then COVID happened, the store closed, nobody came in the store. Even the places where he was supplying, those stores ended up closing. This individual went online and opened e-commerce store through Shopify. And we'll talk more about some of these options, how you can open a store, and started providing drop shipping, meaning directly from your garage or your storage onto your consumer directly. And within few months, the person was able to build a brand for that store. That's very interesting, build a brand, because then you can start getting traffic and consumer. Started getting 600 orders a month. And the person is now selling in 30 countries. Now, this was unimaginable. Pre-COVID, this was one store in one of the cities in Texas where people used to go to the store. And now the person is selling in 30 countries, which is amazing, over 5,000 clicks a day. And even the inventory is all gone because the person is drop shipping directly from the suppliers onto the consumers directly. So fantastic story of how you can leverage an online store and drop shipping to grow your business. And COVID turned out to be an opportunity for this business. Next, I'll talk to you about a restaurant actually. Restaurant is very unique where you have a physical space, people come, there's a lot of association to the space and the food, and food is not easy to deliver. Again, COVID happened. This is a story about a restaurant, ethnic restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia. And as COVID happened, the restaurant closed and it was very hard to survive. This restaurant owner actually signed up with a lot of delivery services, including Uber Eats and DoorDash and Grubhub, and started marketing the menu online they were able to maintain a customer base, and in fact, they reached pre-COVID sales level, even during COVID, which is phenomenal, right? So they were able to survive this transition. Now, as the store starts opening and restaurant starts opening, they are actually seeing tremendous growth because now they have a physical space, of course, but they have an online space as well. And the brand has grown so much, so people are ordering from far and wide. You don't have to travel, right? So they are seeing a lot of growth just leveraging the platform and some of these online services. And third example I want to share with you is regarding a mom, a stay-at-home mom wanted to provide some food, catering, and coaching services. Of course, when you are hard crunch, but this mom had time on hand and wanted to supplement the income, and they started leveraging. Forget about online store. They simply published a menu on WhatsApp and had a large group on WhatsApp where they were publicizing the daily menu, and people started ordering just up, replying to WhatsApp. And they have a drive-through services. So you confirm your order, you drive through, you pick up your food and move on. And they started providing coaching services on a similar model as well. And they are able to supplement their income very significantly using some of these online tools and services, right? So I wanted to share some of these very day-to-day examples with you to share that it's not just about big businesses or established businesses. It's also about people who have something to offer. It can be about stay-at-home mom, or it could be about a restaurant owner or a watch supplier or whatever it may be. Next, I will talk about how do you start selling online. If you are new to e-commerce, these are the steps you need to take. And then I'll talk about the best practices as well. So there are 6 steps to start selling online. You start by selecting a platform. Where do you want to sell? And there are a lot of options where you can sell, right? In my next slide, I'm going to talk to you about some of these platforms, but you select a platform. You don't restrict yourself to one platform. You can select multiple platforms, but my recommendation would be start with 1 or 2 maximum so that you can learn and grow. Next, you create a listing. Listing is you list your product and you specify all the features and functionality, what you want to sell. If it is a hard product, you describe it. If it is a service, you describe your service and so on. Followed by building a detailed page and reviews. Now, this is very important because only way your consumers are going to know your product or your service is by the description, by the reviews that you get. So it's very important in the online world to have clear and detailed description of what you are offering and provide reviews from your consumers. We'll talk more about reviews because that's your online currency. Review is #1 thing that will help you establish the business. People shop on the basis of reviews. You establish a shipping service, how you are going to deliver your product. Is it, or many a time these platforms provide you with their own shipping services. They charge you for it, or you can directly ship your product, and at what speed you are going to provide shipping service. You think of customer support. That's again very important. Oftentimes people forget about support and returns. In online world, it plays a big role because you want to provide that human face. It's not just enough to have a website. If people have a problem or they have questions, you need to figure out how you will provide support. And finally, you market your business. You market your business on social media and other channels so that you can attract traffic to your site. So these are 6 steps. If you go with one of the established sites, they probably walk you through all these steps. If you want to list on Amazon or eBay or Shopify, oftentimes they take care of most of these steps for you, which we are going to talk next. So where do you sell? What are the online stores or options? So there are a lot of platforms available, and these are marketplaces. What is marketplace? Marketplaces, they allow different kinds of sellers to come to their platform and sell it online. They charge you commission, and that's what you see in the fees column there. Place like eBay, it's an online auction, but also you can sell without auction. They charge you fees up to 15%, and you can start selling on eBay as quickly as 24 hours once you list it. Facebook Marketplace, Facebook Commerce is another good place. They are growing rapidly and they want to attract customers. So they are charging currently lower fees and they get you started sooner. Amazon is way more established, one of the biggest player or the biggest player out there. The fees are much higher because the 30 to 40% is including the shipping, the inventory cost, and so on. And it may take from 2 days to 2 months to get started. If you are setting up your own store or have certain goods, it takes much longer on Amazon to establish. But you benefit out of a lot of traffic and consumer base out there. There are a few other options like liquidation.com or wholesalecentral.com and so on. There are also websites which helps you build your own store. So the platform we spoke about earlier in the last slide are where you list using their platform. Places like Shopify or BigCommerce helps you build your own store. So example I was giving you of the watch wholesaler, that watch wholesaler build its own store online through Shopify. And Shopify will charge you something like $80 monthly, and they'll charge you for marketing cost and building cost initially, but then you build your own store on the platform, and then you have your own domain name and you can attract traffic. Now, this is very, very suitable, I would say, building your own website where you have a large assortment of goods to sell. Number one, you have a brand for yourself and you want to spend good amount on marketing your services. If that is the case, then you are better off building your own store rather than going to one of the existing platforms or marketplace. If you don't have an established brand or a large assortment or a lot of marketing dollars to spend, then you are better off going to one of the existing platforms that we saw earlier and list your product there and start selling. You can do both as well. Oftentimes, big businesses do both. They try to reach the market or consumer in a variety of ways. Next, I'm going to talk to you about what not to do. Oftentimes, you hear people say what you should do, and I'm going to talk to you about best practices as well. But this is important, what not to do. Don't treat your online store as a physical store. There's a lot of difference between online selling and physical selling, right? In online store, your description, your reviews really determine your success, right? In your physical store, you are there to explain to your consumer what item there is. But online store, you have to create independent listing, and that's very important. So having that mindset of understanding online store is very different is one of the very important things, and you should approach it that way. Customer service. Oftentimes people say, hey, I'm selling online, so why do I need to worry about customer service? That's a mistake. Customer service is very important. In fact, consumer wants someone who they can rely on if there is a problem. And customer service doesn't necessarily mean there is a phone number right away, but customer service means there is a channel to reach out to you, and you are very responsive. It could be chat, it could be emails, it could be other ways like WhatsApp or whatever different ways are. You should establish your channel so that consumer can reach out and they can get responses quickly. Third common mistake people make is lack of content and review. They say, I have an amazing product, let me just list it. And why people are not coming and buying it? Well, people are not coming and buying it because you are not describing it. There is very poor content, or there are not enough reviews for your product. So building that content, investing in reviews is very, very important. And there are ways people collect reviews, like you can give free samples, or you can ask your existing customer, if you have existing customer, to go online and share their reviews and incentivize your customers to give you reviews. Inefficient delivery, that's another mistake to avoid. Often people forget about it. It's very important. The speed and the efficiency of delivery is important. So you have to think through, am I going to provide a 2-day shipping, 1-day shipping, 5-day shipping, whatever, and keep your promise. In online world, it's very important to keep your promise. If you're saying the goods will reach you in 2 days, you better make sure it reaches you in 2 or less days, not 2 or more days. And finally, not marketing their product, right? It's also important to market it in other channels so that you can attract traffic. So what are the best practices? If you already have e-commerce presence, or you are selling online, be it your store or through another platform, here are the 6 best practices I would like to suggest to you based on my experience. Number 1, I would say know your customers well. Very, very important. Oftentimes people say, I can't see my customer online, so how will I know my customer? There's a lot of customer analytics available, right? Understanding customer behavior, what else they are shopping in addition to what they are shopping from you, how they are browsing your product, right? What do they prefer? You can also do customer studies to understand why they are buying or not buying your products. That's very, very important to grow your business. Second piece, I would say, collect reviews and respond quickly. We spoke quite a bit about reviews. I would also say whenever customer reaches out to you, make sure you are responding, be it positive or negative. When you respond, you build trust. When you respond with that promptly and with integrity, that's very important to build trust. And consumer, even when they have a negative experience with your site or your product, if you make them whole, oftentimes you say, okay, I'll refund your money or I'll give you a replacement. That builds a lot of trust and they start talking about your product. So offer that outstanding customer service, which is my third point. Very, very important to offer that outstanding customer service online. Fourth, I would say share the progress of your order. Because they cannot see the goods, they cannot see the store. It's very important for you to be in touch with the customer and let them know that you have received the order, you are shipping it now, it's on its way, it will reach at this time. All these notifications are very important and consumers have gotten very used to this. My last 2 points are number 5, share your story. What I mean by sharing your story is each individual has a unique story about the product or service they are offering. Oftentimes, even if people are like selling food, if it is your special recipe from your grandma or a unique art which represents your culture, talk about that, right? People get attracted to that story or the mission of the business, why you are doing this business, how did you build this business? People love that story, those kinds of story, and they get attached to it. So that then you can have a image behind the product or the service you are offering, and that builds that connection. It builds that trust. And my final point is e-commerce provides you a very unique opportunity to test different options and learn fast. It's very hard to test and learn in a physical environment, but in an online environment, you can do a lot of variations. You can alter the pricing, you can alter the description, you can alter the packaging, even like bundling. A lot of options are available and you can test and learn very quickly. And you can even offer multiple options at one go and see what is selling better. And then double down, learn from it, and grow from it. So with that, I have covered these 3 points which I started with. Talk to you about the scale and growth of e-commerce, why it is so important, and how it's going to change the landscape of at least planet Earth on which we live, and how we consume. Talk to you about some of the success stories to let you know that this is not just made for big businesses or established businesses. any common person can start using e-commerce to their advantage. And finally, how to sell online and what are some of the best practices, how to succeed on online platform. Shaukat, with that, I'll give it back to you and we can take questions.
Thank you very much, Murad. Very interesting because you in half an hour you already explained about the overall scale and the success stories, so that people get motivation, and also how to start the whole thing. It's just really interesting, and then I think the need of the time. Just one question I have received, and of course we are talking about e-commerce and then from stores to online. What is the initial minimum investment required to start an e-commerce business?
Yeah. So good thing about e-commerce is the setup cost is pretty low, right? Like you honestly don't need to pay a platform like Amazon or eBay to open an account. You can, free of cost, you can open an account to be a seller, right? You pay them as you sell. That's very interesting, right? There is obviously some premium membership, like if you are a seasoned seller, you start paying some more fees, but it's fairly low cost, as we saw, probably $80-$100 a month. But good thing is, for if you want to just sell an item, like I'll give you an example. In my college days, I used to sell my books, right? Buy expensive books, and then I wanted to get some money out of it. I would go on eBay and just list it and pay eBay 20% of whatever selling price I get. So you share the revenue with this platform. So that's a very low setup cost. If you want to build your own store online, which we spoke is separate, then the setup cost is, as I said, there's a monthly fee of that store, which can be somewhere around $80. And there's a one-time setup cost, which can be up to $500. But the setup cost is fairly low.
Okay, very interesting. Just before asking the second question, I would like to also inform all the audience that you have the chance to put your questions in the Q&A section. You can write them there, and then we will put forward in front of the speaker. And also on our social media, you are welcome to just put the question in the comments field. So Murad, the next question is about the legal requirements. So if somebody wanted to, because they are going to sell all over the world, it's online. So what are the legal things they need to take care before they go on e-commerce?
Yeah, good question. I'm glad someone is thinking of legal implications. There are a few simple things. One is, make sure whatever you are selling, if you are selling a hard product, it's not a counterfeit product, right? Or it's not a duplicate or a counterfeit. And if you are selling some knockoff, we call it knockoff, which is a copy of the original, then be very clear. Don't use any brand name to describe your product, right? So let's say I'm selling shoes and they look like Nike or Adidas shoes, but they are not really. Then I should not claim, absolutely, because that can get you in trouble to say, oh, this is Nike or Adidas shoes. No, it is not, right? So counterfeit product is something which is a big issue online these days, and a lot of these platforms are going after the sellers who are selling counterfeit. So I would strongly encourage anyone thinking to make sure the product that they are selling is reliable, it's original. That's number one. Number two, as far as global distribution is concerned, many of these platforms cover global distribution, cover the cost of export, and the buyers pay custom duties. So, for example, if there are consumers, let's say, who are buying products from China, right? I'm sitting in US and I'm buying from China. If there are custom duties that I have to pay, then it will be part of my cost and seller, and you can specify that you cover the custom duty, right? Shipment cost is also accounted, that there would be different shipment cost if it is within the country or another country, right? So platform gives you a lot of those options. That's a benefit of going with some of the established platforms, because they are trying to solve for some of these global distribution, custom duty issues, and so on. And I would encourage, if you are a new player, learn on one of the existing platform, get your game pretty seasoned before you go and do it yourself, like on your own store, right? So take advantage. I mean, Amazon offers you to list your product and sell it in another country, and what they do is they charge the buyer for custom duty.
Excellent. Thank you, Murad. I have another question from one of my colleagues from University of Central Asia. He's our CFO. And he's asking for your advice on how our undergraduate students can benefit from e-commerce. What should you focus on more if you lack investments?
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, I think e-commerce opens up variety of opportunity. One is just to transact online, right? That is very obvious one. So if you have a product or service to sell, then take benefit of the platform to start selling and buying this. That's one very obvious one, and we should leverage that. But beyond that, I think the whole process that I showed you in terms of what are the steps involved in listing your product. For example, create listing, create detail pages, right? Provide customer service, provide marketing. Each of these steps provide unique opportunity for people to start benefiting out of this value chain, right? I'll give you a few examples. Um, there are a lot of big sellers who want to market their product. All right. Let me start with listing. So first of all, listing is a very tedious work, right? If you have a large assortment like this watch supplier, if the watch supplier has even 1,000 different kinds of watches, and oftentimes the assortment is even higher, they find it very tedious and time consuming to list every watch and specify all the items and so on. They are looking for people overseas who can do this work offline, and they are willing to pay for that. So there's a whole industry going on in many different parts of the world, including Philippines, including China, India, which provides educated professional at a lower cost, and they do all the listing work. Number one. Number two, similar ways, the marketing services. So a lot of these businesses want marketing services that include, let's say, setting up a Facebook campaign for marketing, or email campaign, right? Or different kind of notifications or WhatsApp and things like that. Again, the labor cost in North America or Western countries is much higher, and therefore they are offshoring a lot of this work. And there are a large pool of people who are providing these marketing services, search engine marketing, um, and so on, to many of these e-commerce players overseas. So that can open up a lot of business opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities for our undergraduates.
Thank you, Murad. And before taking the last question for the session, because we have some more questions, but I think we have limited time also, so we will take one more question. But before that, I just want to inform all the participants on social media and also on the YouTube channel that we are recording this session, and this session will be available in a couple of days on our YouTube channel. You just need to access YouTube and then write University of Central Asia, and then you will see this lecture and then all the previous lectures we have been conducting on technology subjects and many other subjects actually. So Murad, the last question is, do you know of any AI technologies or programs that are available to small business owners to help simplify the process of interacting with customers?
Particularly AI help interact with customer? Well, there are a lot of AI products. There are chat bots available and customer service bots available. these are, and more companies are investing in these AI bots, which can help you. So on the other side, you don't have a physical human responding, but a machine responding to a lot of chat messages, as we probably know, or even phone menus or phone responses or online responses. So a lot of those AI products are available. I don't have any specific recommendation in terms of, but I think there are a lot of good products available. This industry has grown quite a bit in last 10 years. I've implemented a lot of these bots in customer service. You of course have to train it based on your taxonomy and your specific product area. So there is quite a bit of training and adoption needed for those bots, because you can't just take it off the shelf and use it. You have to train it in what you want the bot to do. But then bot keeps learning over time to say, okay, if you are a airline booking service, and how do you want to respond in airline booking versus if you are a restaurant and people are calling you for reservation or ordering menu or things like that. You can use bots for all these things.
Thank you very much, Murad. On behalf of University of Central Asia, I would like to thank you for your time and then excellent presentation and then sharing your thoughts and experience. And I also want to thank all the audience on the Zoom and also on social media for attending this session. Thank you very much, and then we will come back with more interesting sessions in the technology and many other fields in the future. Thank you, and have a very nice day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.